Hi, this is Wendy Sweet and
Jonathan Davis.
we are here today. Of course, it's Sans Billy, I guess you would say. Bill is not with us in this first meeting today. He had a bigger name on the other line.
He's famous or something now.
He's doing another podcast. That's what he says he's doing anyway, right?
Yeah, he could be in there shopping on the internet. You never know.
That's exactly right. We're so glad you're here with us today. I am so blessed to run in the circles that I run in. I get to meet the coolest people that are so full of knowledge. They're full of other things too, but so full of knowledge and just famous in this industry. And today we have with us one of my very favorite people in the whole wide world. It's Eddie Speed. Eddie, say hey.
How you doing?
Eddie, I remember when I was a baby investor and I had just started in the mortgage industry, and I kind of fell into the hard money. This was like back in 2002. And I accidentally fell into hard money by lending other people's money to investors. And I didn't even know it was called hard money at the time. I just knew that, hey, this is working. I'm going to start doing this instead of conventional loans. Mm-hmm. And there was one piece of material that I would send people, a package of information that I thought was just the greatest thing ever. It was when I first learned about seller financing, and it was Eddie Speed with a picture of a superhero standing on the front of it. It was called Seller Financing. Do you remember that piece?
I do. Streetwise Seller Financing.
That's it. Streetwise Seller Financing. I sent that to so many people. It was so full of information that, I mean, there's no way you could lose from having that information in front of you. And, at that time, and I still feel this way, but at that time I thought, oh my gosh, Eddie Speed is the smartest man on earth. And I just want to meet him at some point in my life. And I remember when I first got to meet you, I thought I'm meeting this guy, this mentor, this guru, this person that I have just been thinking, wow, and he's real. And now we're good friends. And I'm just so excited and blessed to be in your circle. And we're really glad you're here with us. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Well, that's a little embarrassing almost. It's very flattering. Wendy, I consider you an ultimate rock star in the business. And for you to say that, like, I don't know quite what to say, except I guess you're an expert when you're 50 miles from home with a briefcase, is what my dad used to tell me, right? But you've been to my house and you know how things are in the real world. So
that's right. It's a beautiful house, actually. It's awesome. I've been to your ranch, which I really, really love. That's what a way to unwind and truly relax and sitting around the campfire and eating steaks and popping the top on a couple bottles of wine. It's the way to go.
pretty good times. We've had a great time. And I think you and I have had a good, and Bill, of course, in that loop, but I think we've had a good kindred spirit. We're not exactly in the same business, but we have a business that can work together. And back in the old seller finance days of the 90s, I was super close with a lot of the hard money lenders because these guys were carrying seller finance notes and they would wrap their hard money loan for just a short period of time. And the guys wanted to make sure that they could sell that note. So I actually worked with a lot of hard money lenders then because they were concerned, hey, I don't want this guy wrapping the note and all of a sudden can't pay me off because he didn't sell the note. So anyway, I wrote that book in 2002, I believe. And that was about probably 10 years after I was on a journey of teaching real estate investors how to create seller financing. So yeah, I wrote that book. It's the first thing I ever did, and started in the training business probably around 2000.
Wow.
So God, Wendy, that's been 20 years in the training business.
Oh no, that's amazing. That's amazing. It's really amazing. Just so people know, I didn't steal the book. He actually allowed us to download it for free, and I would just give people the link so that they could go download it as well. So just so you know,
let's just leave it. You stole it, okay?
I don't want people to think I'm taking advantage of you, but boy, that was really some great information. So today, on these 2 hours that we're going to be speaking, we do 2 different interviews that we do. We always highlight a superstar the first hour, and then we do a panel the next hour. So in our next hour, we're going to do a panel with other gurus, with great, real estate teachers as well. We wanted to highlight you on this one, not only, to talk a little bit about what you do education wise, but we also really want to talk about the note business and seller financing and what's going on in this world right now.
Yeah.
You sent Jonathan and I some information today that I'd love for you to share with us as well. So if you don't mind, you said you've got a great story. Let's hear it.
Well, Wendy, seller financing, creative financing, really the purpose of that is to fill the gap when either cash or credit has any kind of interruption, right? I mean, that's the idea, is that seller financing specifically fills the gap that conventional lending doesn't fill, right? Or conventional cash doesn't fill. Some real estate sells for cash, but not a huge amount. And so we have been in a cycle, in the last probably 6 years where credit's been fairly good. It wasn't crazy like it was in 2004 through 2008, but credit's been pretty plentiful, and it's certainly fueled a real estate market. If you think about the average real estate investor, and of course, Wendy, you and I are in a mastermind with a lot of these, what I call ninja real estate investors.
Yeah.
And I've spoke at pretty much most of the big masterminds that have the ninjas in the last 6 months, right? And so I feel like probably the top 500 guys in the business, I've probably gotten to speak to probably 350 of those, maybe something like that, maybe 400.
Mm-hmm.
I don't say all 500, but maybe. And what my mission is to say, when could you use creative financing when the traditional markets didn't work? So let's look at wholesaling. Mm-hmm. What started wholesaling and where did it morph to? Now, Wendy, you act like you're a complete rookie, but truth of the matter is you were pretty dang seasoned in the last cycle.
Oh, yeah.
So in the last cycle, when the market blew up and money evaporated, mortgage money evaporated, then some of the first guys back in the market was Wall Street money, the hedge funds, right? And so they went into this market trying to buy houses, which they'd never really bought before. And they were trying to industrialize it, and they just didn't have the horsepower to go find all the houses and do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, hey, Mr. Hotshot Real Estate Investor, we'll buy your contract. You don't even have to close it. You can just flip your contract to us. You can wholesale it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, then they could then add a lot of volume. And so the original guys that started that window were guys that you and I hung out with. They were kind of the industrial guys flipping to the hedge funds.
Right.
Well, that became a whole new business because the guys didn't have to fund it, fix it, and sell it to a consumer, right?
That's
they
right.
could eliminate that part of their business. So they did. And then all of a sudden, TV came along.
Home and garden TV.
Yeah. and when the HGTV Dreamer came along, see, he was the newest guy at the table. And he didn't know what the rules were. And honestly, I don't know that he even cared what the rules were. Like, Wendy, you and I would not let a guy flip a contract to us and let him make $35,000. If he did it once, I'd probably be done. right? No super seasoned guys would do that.
Right.
Right. And the hedge funds really wouldn't do that. That was sort of let's just call it an excessive fee.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But all of a sudden, these hotshot real estate investors could go out and find the newest HGTV dreamer in the market. In fact, the guy with the newest list was the most successful. The guy that had the stale list for even a year ago, he wasn't selling for the most money. It was the newest guy with the newest wannabe real estate investor out there, and he could flip his contract for crazy money.
Yep, too much.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, this started driving this market in what everybody now knows as what they act like has been around for 20 years, which is the wholesaling business. Well, that's actually not true. It's only been around since this last cycle to any measurable degree.
Right.
There's always people that flip the contract, but it's never been like a definable business.
Mm-hmm.
So now we enter a cycle where the mortgage industry has an issue. So I'm going to share this screen. Wendy, I think. Okay, I'm going to share this screen, share screen. And I'm trying to make sure I share the right screen. I'm hoping it'll like have a little shiny thing that tells me. Oh,
yeah.
hell.
Don't share any of that stuff we shouldn't say.
Yeah. We'll just go for it, Wendy. No,
Just put it all
you know, be Wendy. I'll go for it.
Yeah,
All
we ain't scared.
So I don't want to make this a PowerPoint light show or anything. Can you see my cursor?
I can't see your screen. I haven't seen it.
Allow. It says allow.
There it is. I see it now.
So can you see my cursor?
There we
Yeah,
go.
there it is.
There we are.
Yeah. So my cursor right there is, so this is the mortgage credit availability. This is from Mortgage Bankers Association, Wendy. And this is basically December of 2019. If you see, it was right up here, right at maybe almost the peak since the crash of 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you see more, the credit would go down a little bit, then it would go up, and then it would go down. But right in here somewhere was around the fall of 2019. And Wendy, right here, can you see that?
Yeah.
This represents when we found out there was something called COVID-19.
Right.
Okay. And in less than 30 days, this was the mortgage availability chart.
Wow.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
So in a month, the people that could get a mortgage in February dropped about 25%.
Wow.
Okay. Now, that was the end of April, and I just got a new chart here, and this is blurry, and I apologize because this is like fresh off the boat. I mean, like fresh off the boat as in like 20 minutes ago.
Oh, wow.
And so I haven't, it's fuzzy, and I apologize for that. So let me just show you this. We were here, and now it's slid a little more down, maybe another 10%. Okay? But it's not changing, and it's not going back up. So basically, Wendy, just kind of figure it like this, and I won't wear you guys out with a bunch of charts and graphs and stuff. Let's see. How do I unshare? Yeah.
That's awesome.
30%. This is a safe number. 30% of the people that could get a mortgage in February can't get a mortgage today.
That's
Wow.
huge. That's huge.
I don't know what people think is huge. And so here's the issue. How does this affect wholesaling? Okay. Well, let's talk about what that means. When a wholesale guy buys a house, what's he doing?
He's buying it to turn around and sell it real quick. Is that what you're talking about?
Or rent it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So if he's going to resell it, Wendy, who is he going to sell it to?
The wholesale guy's going to sell it to an investor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hopefully.
he's going to sell it to another investor.
Right.
No. You're the guy that's in CG with us, right? He flips his contract to a HGTV buyer.
Right.
What's that guy going to do with the house?
He's going to try to sell it to an owner-occupied person.
Or he's going to rent it.
Right.
Okay. You think right now he knows the mortgage market has evaporated?
I from the calls I'm getting, I can tell you that most people don't get it.
Yeah. So people are going like, oh, no, it's all good.
Right.
No, I don't even think the house buying business is going to be affected. I mean, the wholesaling business seems to be pretty much just like it was before. And I'm thinking, well, this seems, I have this saying, Wendy, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have a rear view mirror.
I wish I could turn mine around.
So what it tells me is there's some people that are really on the edge and really understand where the market is going. And there's people that just, real estate investors, to be honest with you, are not good at like following the ball. They're good at knowing where the ball lands, but they're not really good. They're not really data type people, and more people in the mortgage industry are data geeks, right? You agree with that, Wendy? They're data geeks, and I got a squad chasing this stuff all the time. I mean, they're searching for the next trend in the market. Like, what did Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac do in the last 10 days?
Changing the rules.
They basically said, if you're self-employed, we want you to now have audited financial statements.
That's right. And who does that? Most people don't.
Now they got a plan B if they don't have audited financials. So you're an old mortgage underwriter, right? Are the big guys going to go with plan B, or are they going to be scared of an agency buyback and say, if you don't have audited financials, we're probably not going to make the loan?
Yeah, they're going to be worried about that for sure.
Well, yeah, they're going to err on the side of caution.
So here's the thing. I'm either giving people terrible news or great news.
Yeah.
And you know the difference? The terrible news is if you don't know what to do, and the great news is if you know what to do.
That's right. So what do we do?
Well, first of all, Wendy, everybody in America should race to NoteSchool.
Absolutely.
I have to agree with that.
I mean, let's establish what's common sense here, okay?
I agree. And NoteSchool isn't just about learning how to create notes anymore. You have to learn what they mean, the mechanics of the note, and how it can work for you, because it's really a piece of clay and you just form it into whatever you need. And that's what you teach people how to do, right?
I think so. I mean, a lot of people show up at NoteSchool just because they're real estate investors right now. By the way, we've sold more training in the month of May than ever in the history of NoteSchool ever.
Wow.
So in all virtual.
That's
all
amazing.
Virtual. Like it's inconceivable. Nobody would ever bet in a million years this would happen. So there are people that are figured out there's a market change and how to do it. But I know that I take them and we teach stuff to them that they never thought that was relevant. And then all of a sudden, when they realize it's relevant, then all of a sudden it makes sense. So if I could say to you, well, Wendy, we teach you how to own your own note portfolio and we teach you how to recapitalize it. That makes perfect sense to you, right? Because we teach you how you can own notes instead of just selling notes, or you can buy somebody else's note and you're saying, well, eventually I'm going to run out of money. It may be sooner, it may be later, but everybody's going to eventually run out of money. And so our big thing is like, how do you use the marketplace and recapitalize it? So right now, here's what we have figured out. And by the way, we just figured it out because of the environment that I'm in with you guys, Wendy, and other people. And we have a training business and people show up at our doorstep, right? I mean, they show up at our doorstep and they tell us what their pain is. They tell us what they want. They tell us what their frustrations are, blah, blah, blah. Well, we figured out about 2 years ago, there is really an insurgence of what we refer to as burnout landlords.
Yeah.
And so the burnout landlord, he really is a guy that thought that this was all going to be wonderful until he figured out what an invoice is. Because when he bought this managed for him property, he didn't think invoices were involved. Right? Apparently, the promoter didn't mention that part. And he certainly thought there was no chance of vacancy.
How do you know that? Yeah, right?
That's the way it works.
100% all the time, right?
Well, I'm just telling you what they repeat to us. Like, they seem shocked that these things happened.
Yeah.
And so we're having a little fun here, but it is a case. And so there's an amazing number. There's 18 million residential doors more than there was in 2010. So the growth in the rental property space was obviously gigantic, and not everybody was a fit for that business. Now, that doesn't mean they don't have money. That just means that they don't have a tolerance for the deal.
Right.
And Wendy, you guys have built an awesome business, and you have proven a tolerance for these various business strategies, right?
Right.
But you get up and work at it every day.
That's exactly right. That's the difference. We have powerhouse people like this that are working beside us every day.
Yeah.
Changing.
Powerhouse people.
Yeah. Changing, able to change with what's going on in the world. And I think that's another key is real estate investors don't love change and don't accept it. And if you want to be in real estate, you have to be able to change like that constantly.
None of us love to change. Let's be honest. I mean,
I like it.
You do? You like just getting up and getting totally uncomfortable every day? Well, you probably do, Wendy. You probably do.
I'm weird. What can I say?
Why would I challenge that? I know you. No, I mean, it is part of the thing. And I think every cycle, every black swan, whatever it is we want to call it, right? There's some really negative things that come out. First of all, there's some really awesome people that have been negatively affected that have done nothing wrong.
Right.
There's 5 million people that are in mortgage forbearance right now. Okay. There's, I don't know, the number's going down, the unemployment number's going down, but whatever the number is, it's crazy. Whether it's, I don't even know this week, right? 30 million, 40 million, I don't know what the number is of people that don't have a job, but I have a heart for them, and I know you guys do, right? I mean, so we're not trying to take advantage of people. We're just saying the market is what the market is. The best thing some of us can do is go make money so then we can go be benevolent.
Right.
The market opportunity is going to be what the market opportunity is. If we don't adjust, then it may force us to go out of business like people that couldn't adjust.
Right.
So I think it's our obligation to go learn what to do.
I agree. And I love that you're saying that, because I can tell you that Jonathan and I get calls every day from investors who want to get into the buy and hold side of real estate. Yeah. We do a lot of loans that people are buying the properties. They want to fix them up. And then they say, okay, let's refinance. Yeah. And Jonathan and I are like, okay, you go do that. Yeah. See if you can find somebody that'll do that for you.
Well, because as Eddie said, it's same thing as notes as in hard money. It's recycling capital.
Yeah.
Go refinance so that we can recycle our capital.
Yeah. So we're not doing long-term loans. We don't do the long-term investor loans because we can't meet our investor numbers that we need to meet, our returns that we're supposed to get for interest rate. We can't meet that if we're in long-term loans. So it's not our type of business. I wish it was, because we would have so many loans we wouldn't know what to do with. That's what's lost in our real estate world right now, are those longer term buy and hold loans. They're almost non-existent.
Yeah.
I mean, we see a few of them coming back, right? But
Yeah, I mean, there's a few, but I mean, what's really missing is that, and it probably gets satisfied in like seller financing or other things that you can do, other creative financing, is kind of like that midterm note where it's 5-year balloon, 3-year balloon, something like that can help, that gets these people through this credit cycle, where hopefully mortgage credit availability increases in the next 3 to 5 years. I mean, one would assume that it will, but
yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm glad that you're saying this, because investors more than anyone need to be able to come and learn what it is that you're teaching about seller financing, because that's how they're going to really find their deals from these burned out landlords.
Yeah.
They need to understand that.
Well, can I ask you a question, Eddie? So if wholesaling is going to, that is going to be down. So your end user that the person was flipping that contract to was this HGTV dreamer who was going to either rent the property or, do some kind of flip and sell it to an end user buyer, or perhaps even live in it themselves. So you don't have that person. That HGTV buyer, where were they sourcing most of their capital? Was it conventional money, or were they sourcing it from other means? Because if they were sourcing it from conventional capital, there's going to be a big issue. If they weren't, then kind of walk us through that.
We know they weren't getting it from us because we don't do bad loans.
Well, I believe they were getting a lot of hard money loans. Wendy, I think that you have a vetting process, but
that's why we're still in business after COVID.
Hard money lending it takes it in a lot of times when the market changes, because the bottom end of the hard money lenders make a lot of loans that don't get paid off well. Mm-hmm. And it is my understanding that a lot of them were getting a hard money loan.
Okay.
And then they were trying to then transition either into a rental property loan, or then, as you said, Wendy, they're trying to sell it to a consumer. So if that's the case, then here's what I would say. There is a very workable strategy that, with some guidance and with some training, they could really reinvent their business. Here's what they could do. They could get the seller to seller finance the top end of the deal.
Tell me what you mean by top end of the deal.
Okay, well then they buy the property cost $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
You get a loan for 70, and you get the seller to carry 30. 70 first, 30 second.
And when he says that, he means first and second lien positions on the property. Yeah.
Now, Wendy and I would call that a piggyback second. Seller second. And Wendy, here's the catch. And this is a lot of people know that concept, but what they do is they make both the first and the second short-term money, which is what you can't do. Right? You make the first short-term money and put a clause in the second that it is subordinated not only to that loan, but any subsequent loans. Right? Then pay the seller second over time, and you can do very preferred terms.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, now you have a 70% loan, whereas before you had 100. Now you have a $70,000 loan. Before you had $100,000 loan, and now all of a sudden, loan programs will be more flexible in what's possible. So you don't need the seller necessarily to carry the whole deal. You need them to carry part of the deal so that you can figure out some strategies, as you guys said. If you had some much more underwritable criteria, then all of a sudden you could find more lenders that might make a loan. Credit hasn't completely gone away; it's just evaporated.
Well, let me ask you this, Eddie. So if you have a piggyback second and you put a clause in there that it's subordinate, and you even go to the pain of having that seller financing sign subordination agreements if you do refinance it, then my question would be, as credit starts opening back up, would the CLTV be an issue? Because now you do have a higher combined loan to value, as opposed to just a low, so does that play a role? What do you think about that?
You just gotta read the market and figure out what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have people that'll get the seller to carry a second. And it's not a mortgage; it's just a note.
Yeah, so they don't
That's a
record
good
it.
point.
There's you just got to read the market and the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like here's how I look. What I think I teach people. I teach people puzzle pieces. This is a puzzle piece. Now, when do you properly apply the puzzle piece, right? And sometimes you're putting it here, and sometimes you're putting it over here. It's not. You have to. The idea of creative financing is you got to go figure out where there's a need, and then you have to kind of understand the principles. And I know people that roll their eyes and go, "Oh my God, this is just too complicated." Yes, you got to know more than the average tomato if you want to get rich. That's all I know how to say.
That's
If
exactly
this is just too complex and you can't figure it out, well, then you can take your chances on the market.
Come pay us. We'll figure it out for you.
I mean, but it's the truth.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you're spending money on yourself so that you can learn these things. It's not, you can certainly go to small groups and meetings and stay there for an hour and learn something, and go to your RIA group and learn something, and meet with some other investors and learn stuff. But there's nothing more valuable than sitting in front of a guru and learn what it is you need to know, because every time you go, you're going to learn something completely different. You're going to be able to master it and then move on to use that piece with another piece that you might learn somewhere else.
And all those people who say, "Oh, I just want to buy real estate. I don't need to know anything about notes," or like, I learned notes from the very beginning, and that's what I learned, and that has made all the difference for me on the lending side, on investing, on everything. Like, you need to learn collateral. You need to learn all of the documents and how to structure loans. And Eddie is the premier guy to teach you how to do that.
King. I know that I have always told people from the very beginning that if you learn and understand notes, how they can be creative and how they can work, there is no deal that will come across your desk that you can't make into a good deal.
I think it's a true statement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a niche guy, right? I'm a niche guy. Wendy and I go to these crazy events, and these people are so amazingly good at what they do. But I mean, I bought 50,000 notes, and I probably looked at 400,000. So when it comes to seller financing, I look at it like this. Yeah, you go to your local real estate investor, and somebody goes, "Yeah, I do seller financing. I know that, Eddie, speak up, but I already do that." Well, it's like a guy playing football, right? There's a little kid in junior high school that plays B team football, and you ask him if he plays football, and he says, "Yeah, I play football." And then you go, and meet a professional football player, and you say, "You play football?" And he says, "Yes." Well, they both play football. It's just a matter of what level you're playing.
That's right.
Very true. Well said.
And I'm passionate about the fact that I think people learn some bad habits with seller financing because they're not taught good habits.
Well,
what are some bad habits that you've seen?
They sell junk property to junk people and act like they're going to pay. It's just, to me, it's ridiculous. I mean, you got a substandard piece of property and you sell to a substandard buyer, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get a check for 20 years.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
They're going to, I mean, Walter Wofford is going to be on in a minute.
Yeah.
Walter, one day I had a deal, and I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, just so everybody knows that. I'm from where Walter lives. Now, I didn't know Walter back then, but I knew a lot of Walter's buddies. Anyway, long story short. Walter, I called him one day. we had a note submission. We were going to buy a note in Jackson, and we had priced it, and now we were doing our due diligence. And so we called Walter, and we said, Walter, this property's at so-and-so. We just wanted to ask you about crime. He said 100%. I said, what do you mean? He said, there's a 100% chance of that.
Well, at least he knows his area.
Yeah.
So do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 100% chance it ain't going to work out.
That's exactly right. Okay, so Eddie, we've got about 5 minutes left. Here's what I'd like to know. I would love for you to share with our viewers what it is like to sign up for, tell me a little bit about your programs, but what's it like when they sign up and attend a NoteSchool conference? Tell me about that.
Well, the first thing I want somebody to do is to get a sense of what this looks like and how it goes. So I've got a little landing page that I built for you guys. It's very simple. It's just noteschool.com/get started.
Okay.
Just /get started. And
Okay.
I'm going to give them a book, which I call, it's a whole new ball game with creative financing. So the theme of it is kind of like the movie Moneyball.
Right.
And so I made this book kind of like that. And so it talks about doing real estate investing, but understanding creative financing when most people don't. And it just shows you so it's a good little book. It's probably only 35 pages, but it's a good read. I mean, it's hopefully like Streetwise Seller Financing. It's a good, solid read that's informational. You're not going to get halfway through it and go, there's nothing here. Then we're going to do a workshop. So we'll do about a 90-minute workshop. Same young man that helped you before, Wendy Bryan. Nice, fine guy. And he is the guy that helped, because I can't do it all, possibly.
Right.
But he relates because he was a regular wholesaler, regular fix and flip guy. And now he's come into our fold. And so he really is a good disciple of this is where you could be, and this is how you could think, and this is what you could transition to. And then we, of course, have, 3-day classes and all that stuff. But I want somebody I don't have a shortage of selling 3-day classes right now.
Right.
I want to make sure that the people that come to the class are latched up for the journey that we need to take them on. I don't want them to sign up for the class and, not be committed to the class or the process or whatever. Literally. I mean, we have so many people wanting to get in now. I'm trying to make sure that we're a fit for each other.
Right.
And this is a good way just to figure out, hey, this is a fairly low level commitment. Read this book. I'll go listen to Brian, and I'll make sure that I can see that this is a fit. I want to learn this. I love teaching. And I feel like our 3-day class, as I told you the other day, Wendy, I think our 3-day class is the most dialed in it's ever been, ever.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And tying it in with the market and why it works. And not to say that you can't do conventional financing or you can't deal with hard money lenders. I'm not painting a picture that there's not an opportunity. We're trying to figure out how to work together with you guys that are hard money lenders, not to work against each other.
Right.
Appreciate that.
We're trying to figure out where the fold is. Well, I mean, I have a long history of this.
Yeah.
This is my first rodeo to have a real connection and work with hard money lenders, because I'm not a hard money lender. If somebody's going to go buy a property and it takes some cash at the closing, we got to go figure out how that works. But I also know that, no, it's real.
Yeah.
But I also know that I need to come up with ideas that help them transition from that on to, as you said, permanent financing.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that we talk about, and we love case studies. And I think we got some really cool, fun case studies that are pretty creative. I mean, they're pretty creative, I get to train a lot of smart people, and so they do some pretty fun stuff.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I love the way that you have explained that. And I think it's really important for people to understand that you have to really be committed. You don't have to be smart in math. That's not what this is about, right?
Wendy, if any smarts was required, I wouldn't be involved.
Well, you have
Modest.
more sense than a tomato, isn't that
Yeah,
what he said?
he has more sense than a tomato, an average tomato.
Yeah. But it's you really just have to have your mind open and have the desire to solve problems.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it.
Come up with a solution.
Creativity is learning what's possible and then applying the concepts. If you don't know what's possible, you can't apply the concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I teach creative real estate financial modeling. Okay. Well, if you've never seen it, that just sounds like, oh my God. Then all of a sudden you see it and it's like, oh, this is actually common sense.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. So Eddie, we've got on the screen the best way for people to learn about your Note School is to go to noteschool.com/get started.
Yeah.
And that way they not only can get onto your website, but they'll be able to contact you and people on your team that way as well, right?
Yeah, this is a good first strategy to get somebody, instead of just sending them to Note School, they sort of get lost and all that stuff. I had Susan build a page so somebody could go specifically there and know that these are people that we've spent some time with. They've kind of heard a little of our story, and now they're ready for the next thing to get started.
Gotcha.
That's why we named it that, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure. It really was.
I can't wait for the next hour. I think it starts at 1:05 is our next hour that we're going to come on, and we're going to talk to not only Eddie but some other real estate gurus. Eddie, you are just an awesome human being, and I'm so glad that you took time out of your day to spend with us and share with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Love you, mean it.